Eventually, at first it was literally just my cell phone and me holding it up, and my arms got kind of tired. So we invested in a tripod. And so we tried that for a while. Off and on, it was, a little bit spotty at first. Some weeks we'd do it, some weeks, we wouldn't. I'd say within the last like 6 months or so, we've tried to be very consistent with it and doing it every single week. Um, and I'd say maybe about 4 months ago, we decided that we wanted to stop doing the live streaming. So one issue that we ran into a lot is that so we have Wi-Fi in the church and it's pretty good, except it doesn't really reach into our sanctuary so well. So when we would be live streaming on Facebook, you know, it would maybe kind of lag a little bit and it would all of a sudden pause. Now it would keep recording so that once the live stream was done and that recording was then just available on Facebook, anyone who was watching it later could see everything uninterrupted. But anyone who was trying to watch live, it would get paused and, we'd lose followers. So we switched over to just doing a recording. And at first we were just recording it and then just taking the recording and posting it straight to Facebook. But about 3 months ago, we actually created our own YouTube channel. I have a special Gmail account that I use specifically for any media related stuff. So whether it's mostly just for YouTube, but then also we use it for the website as the login for our new website that we have, and any other interactions I have with like print media or anything like that. And Gmail's great because it's connected right to YouTube. YouTube's owned by Google, so it kind of just connects right there. So anyway, we we record the sermons, then later on after the service, I go home and I upload it straight to YouTube. So one thing we are going to experiment this week, obviously with everything going on, our pastor, Rich Kelson, is going to be at the church. He's going to be doing his sermon, and our director of music is also going to be there playing some songs. And I'm going to go in and I'm actually going to see if I can try live streaming on YouTube. That's a new thing that I actually just learned from Bill the other day. So we're going to try that out and see how it goes. But really our equipment's very simple. Like I said, it's a cell phone and a tripod, and that's pretty much it. Oh, Jean, I think you're muted.
I'm unmuted now. Yeah. So Courtney, what have you learned from this as you have, you kind of shared a little bit, but what are some more learnings that you think others should remember as they, record it, or what kind of equipment you use, that kind of stuff? What would be some good learnings?
I would say that, first thing, like I said, the one big thing that we always were running into was with the Wi-Fi not being strong enough. So just make sure that you're kind of aware of what that capability is before you start. Cause, like I said, it's not the worst thing in the world, but you'd hate to be trying to live stream something and it just kind of fails halfway through. And I think the other thing we've learned is it doesn't need to be complicated. It can be very simple and, as easy as a cell phone. So
great. Okay, Brian, why don't you tell your story of your first adventure into Facebook Live, right? Yours is Facebook. And,
yeah.
And it just and how you got that set up for this week.
Well, I did a new church development in.
Tell us where you're from, Brian, and who you are.
I'm First Presbyterian Church in Hackettstown. I have been doing some of this stuff live streaming, but I've also had people live streaming all the way back when I was the protest chaplain at Occupy, did stuff with Black Lives Matter, worked with Antifa, all these different groups that have sort of pioneered the idea of live streaming. If we didn't have these protest movements that were capturing like stuff in Ferguson, people on the street being shot by police officers, a lot of that stuff has helped move forward a lot of the live streaming ideas that we have. I worked with Global Revolution, and they were teaching activists on the ground how to live stream. and they were working also in Egypt, teaching people in Tahrir Square to live stream. What we did oftentimes is a lot of punk, anarchist, DIY sort of lo-fi, like a lot of us are going to be doing with the equipment that we have, not the high technology like a phone, a Samsung or an iPhone or an iPad. And what I've used in this is because most, like with the New Church Development and other places that I've done community development, is that I've tried to gather some of the people right now that can immediately learn this stuff, even if they didn't know it. So I have somebody who has a nice phone and a tripod. I have my choir director who's really good at setting the stage and doing a script. And also I have my worship chair who is making sure that if we're doing this on Sunday, nobody's walking in, that nobody's coming into the building's closed, no disruptions, no nothing. And so that's what we did. And then as we started, we did Facebook Live. We may go to YouTube or others, but that's the one that I felt the most comfortable immediately teaching somebody. And we just sat down and we ran through it on a Saturday, and I gave them a script. I didn't give them a bulletin. And we just went through the script. We made sure that it was in a way, it had to be horizontal so that it could fit both of us in the scene in the sanctuary. And we set it up in a place. We looked at different locations where it would be the optimal place. Now we're also taking as many critiques, about sound and, at certain times the light hits this way, so maybe you want to make sure that this is changed. But, we're just kind of trying to do it as collaboratively as possible with the people that we have that can do the most. One of the things that was really important to us right off, and I know this in doing protests, is that you prep your crowd. And so ahead of time, like we did a teaser, we sent out the teaser to our Facebook page. Today I did a pre-recorded message that goes on the page, and we're teasing people so that they'll know it's coming. And then when it first drops, when we start with Facebook, because there's a lag time, we have a certain number of, I had a certain number of people share it and repost it. And one of those people actually did a party, you have an option to say a watch party. And so, we have a church that has 100 to 105 in attendance. And during that viewing, we had 350 viewing. And now it's up to 1,000 views because of the shares out. And what that allowed us to do was bring in some people who are at a distance. We have people that are contacting us that say, I'm in Phoenix, and they're kind of going, who's the person that's from the furthest away? And so we have people that have been connected to the church that are at a distance that may actually be able to participate. This week, we're going to put together a booklet that has the entire service typed out word for word, and then that way it'll be PDF'd on our webpage. It'll also be sent out in an email, and we'll leave hard copies on the bench. So if somebody can't connect with us physically, they can actually have the entire service that we're going to do online in a physical format, so they can do it in a devotional process.
I think one of the helpful things, Brian, when we were talking earlier, was you got those 5 or 6 people to repost. They were a little more tech savvy than some of our members are, and were able to repost, but also to help others get on. Can you
Yeah,
talk about how you organized that?
yeah, we had, and that was the other reason we had a fourth person, the person that was watching the door. They were catching the phone. So there were some elderly people that they knew that wanted to be on, but they needed to be talked through it. And so she was on the phone, talking them through it on how to get on. And so, I mean, it would have been great to have 10, but we're not supposed to have that many people there. So it was, at least we had one person that a lot of the older people trust, and she was able to just say, okay, you see this button, you push on that button, and you'll be on. And it really worked very well to have somebody like that that knew how to do it, but also a lot of the old people felt comfortable contacting.
So it was helpful to have someone to help others navigate how to get on, because this was new to them.
Yeah, and they were going to do it by phone, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't going to be able to do that in a message or something to them.
Right. Um, we had a couple questions that anybody in the presenters can answer. We'll jump in these. How was this, for those of you who did virtual worship or have been doing it, how has this been received by the congregation?
Well, go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, Ross, you haven't talked. Go ahead.
Ross Lang. I'm the pastor of First Presbyterian Church in Cedar Knolls, which is a northeastern suburb of Morristown. We've not done a full, an exclusively virtual service yet. Such as it is, we did have in-person worship on Sunday, but this week we're going to. But we do have a whole bunch of shorebirds and snowbirds in our congregation who have kept in constant contact with the church. And these are people in their mid-70s all the way up to one is almost 90. Frequently send me emails and say they're so thankful to see the videos online that they watch every single week after they get back from their churches down there or out there or wherever they are. It's been a really good connectional tool, and it really expanded my thinking about who the audience was for this too. They're people who you would think would not be nearly tech savvy enough to figure out how to navigate this technology have gotten the hang of it and have made good use of it. And thankfully, a number of people chose to tune into the live stream on Sunday and stay home, which I was thankful for anyway.
Courtney, your church has been doing it for a while. How have they received it?
I would say that those that are tech savvy enough are very into it. And we've had a few people reach out and say, "Oh, I'm really glad that I can watch online," because they couldn't be there in person for whatever reason. We don't have a ton of views yet, and I think, Brian, what you talked about with getting people to share, that's huge, because we don't really get a lot of shares. We get people viewing, but not a lot of shares. So it's been slow going for us, but I think these next several weeks will be much more informative around how much people really like it. So
Brian, did you say you were using a cell phone or video camera?
We used a really nice Samsung phone. Yeah. But if anybody wants to donate a video camera, I love that. I've always done I've always had to do it yourself sort of stuff. And I was going to say too, part of the reason I always did it on my personal Facebook page was because since I was an evangelist, I have people that have followed me in a lot of ways. And like one instance was I was the pastor of an African-American church in the projects, super poor church, but some of the members there had been a part of Jay Herbert's new church development. And oftentimes he would watch our live stream because he knew our members. So you never quite know. And like with this, we've just been shocked because some of the people that we haven't heard from in a long time have connected with us. So thank you so much for doing this. And yeah, we've had a pretty positive response to it. The way that I usually gauge it, and some of you might know, my church doesn't like a lot of innovation. I think sometimes some of them, and some of them want a lot of innovation. And so that's sort of always the tension. But when people start to complain about the technology, that maybe people that wouldn't want it have originally wanted it, then I see that as a success, because it's like they're wanting it better. They're not complaining because they don't want it. They're complaining because they're like, hey, if you could do this, this would make it a little bit better. And to me, that's a good thing. It's like, okay, well, you might have been somebody that would have been hesitant to do something like this if this wasn't the circumstances. So that's really good to me.
All right, we're going to move to Bill. And Bill, you live stream your service every Sunday. So you want to tell the story of how you got that started and how you do it?
Sure, that's no problem. Like Ross, we have a lot of people in our church that go away at different times of the year, either to Florida or the beach. And we have an increasing number of people who are forming a colony out at one of the local retirement homes. And with all of these people coming in and out, our music and worship team try to talk about how we can stay connected with them and ensure that they can still be a part of our worshiping life together and stay connected. And we decided putting the worship service online was one way we could do that. And what this church did is we purchased it's called a PTZ camera, which is a camera you kind of mount in a position somewhere in the room. It's like what they have in a lot of college classrooms to record the lectures. And then a audio feed from our church's sound system is plugged into that. And the camera broadcasts the audio and the video stream directly to YouTube from that. And you can just leave it in one position and it records with nobody babysitting the camera. But we also have a few young people in the church that when they're there will come and you can zoom in on things and point it at the lectern when the scripture reading's taking place or the choir when the anthem's being sung. And we've gotten good feedback on that and have 20 or 30 people a week looking at those videos. They are archived automatically by YouTube so that when the live stream ends, a stored version of the video stays up there for an indefinite period of time, so you can go back and look at it. And we found that pretty effective. What we did this last Sunday, though, is our staff is spread out quite a bit. So we are just outside of Morristown, and our music director lives in Montclair. Our organist lives in Randolph, and we have people kind of 45 minutes away in different directions. And I didn't want them to have to drive in to do a worship service on Sunday when we did not have church in person. And I had them record on their cell phones a video and send that to me. And then I put them all together on our computer and uploaded that to YouTube as one video file that we then shared on the church's website, on the church's Facebook page, and also emailed everybody with our communication software. We use MailChimp, and we just embedded a link to the video in that MailChimp to try and broadcast it as widely as we could.
So normally you live stream, but this last week you pre-recorded. Is there?
We pre-recorded, yeah. So and we just use phones to do that. And I think our music director has some more high-tech stuff in his house that he used for his part, but the rest of us just used phones.
Okay. Someone asked the question, did people miss the interactivity of the live stream? Do you know?
I don't know. I mean, I got some feedback that people appreciated having something. our congregation is probably not as tech savvy as some, and I'm not sure if they'd be up for that. We did have a Zoom session meeting last night, and that went a lot better than I thought it would. They all managed to get on there and to talk to each other. So we may experiment with interactive stuff. I wish we could do some of that, but I don't see it happening for worship, at least at New Vernon.
Okay, thanks. Any question? Well, we'll get to questions a little bit. Ross is more our techie guy, and really kind of has a good sense of the equipment, and he's going to talk a little bit about the different types of equipment you can get. And someone asked what is PTZ, and someone said that means point, tilt, and zoom. So when he was mentioning PTZ camera. So Ross, why don't you tell us about the basic stuff that you need to, that you may need, and maybe even have access to now.
Yeah. All right. So I am going to go through this kind of quickly. There's unfortunately, I think, going to be some jargony stuff in here. If you hear anything that you don't understand, you can feel free to ask or email me later to clarify, but just take notes. Take notes, head to YouTube or something, and look for stuff too, because I taught myself a lot of this stuff also. So
I am recording this, so this recording will be available. And Ross, if you can write something up, we'll put it on our webpage too.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So I mean, the minimum thing that you need is a smartphone with a data connection. Somebody that has unlimited data on their phone, at least 4G. That's going to be the absolute easiest way to do this. You take that, you can combine it with a tripod that's less than $15. They make these tripods that have like flexible legs that you can bend. Just search bendable phone tripod on Amazon, and you'll find a whole bunch of them. You can just place that on the pulpit, place the phone facing towards you. And for a newer phone, feel free to use the front-facing camera. The live streams are all going to be capped in terms of quality by the platform that you're uploading to. So I think Facebook maxes at 720p, and YouTube, I think, does a maximum of 1080 on their live stream. So like this is a 4.5-year-old Google Pixel phone. You can buy them used for about $100 now. This will shoot in 4K 30 out the back camera, but there's no point in doing that for a live stream because you couldn't upload it there anyway. So you just get that phone, get the phone with the data plan, get the Facebook app on it, make sure that the app is logged in as an administrator on your Facebook page or as the account holder for your YouTube channel. Put the front-facing camera on, put it down on the pulpit there so it's facing you. You'll be able to see yourself, right? Just like they tell actors, try not to make eye contact with it too much. I mean, it can be good to engage, but you don't want it to be weird, like you're, grooming yourself in a mirror or something, which gets more tempting, especially when there's no congregation out there in real life, right? When it's just you and the machine. But that's the most basic way to do it. The other way, which you can do, which is what we do, is because I don't have an unlimited data plan, I use the church's Wi-Fi. So if you have Wi-Fi at the church, just Google internet speed test. You'll want to check the upload speed. I'd say anything that is below maybe 20 megabytes per second, you might have a problem. But generally most internet connections will be able to handle at least basic live streaming. So then you just connect to the Wi-Fi and do it that way. And that, that can be cheaper there. And if you're doing that, the smartphone actually doesn't even need to have a carrier or a SIM card. You can just buy a used, fairly recent smartphone, hook it up. It'll still turn on with the OS and everything, turn the video camera on, log into your apps, using the Wi-Fi, and you're good to go. So in that sense, if you're kind of nervous about the church using your phone or about you using a parishioner's phone, which we've also done for our streaming at Hilldale, then you can do that. And the videos that these phones put out at close range are actually pretty good. So I have a Canon 5D3 with a number of different L-glass lenses, and at close range, when you're right up to it, the video quality that comes out of this is not all that inferior to what you would get on the Canon. You really have to tune it and play with the lighting. So you're talking about a camera that was originally, in the $3,000-ish range that now is trounced by a $100 phone. So don't feel nervous about using the phone, especially if you or someone has like a brand new iPhone or a Pixel, Pixel 3 or 4 or something, or a brand new Galaxy. That kind of a thing could really put out some very high quality content. You want to shoot in vertical video mode, the dreaded vertical video for Facebook, because it takes up more room in the feed. And so it attracts more viewers. There's a much higher engagement that way. If you're shooting for YouTube, you want to shoot in landscape because YouTube still privileges that format. And you always want to go live if you can, because both platforms give precedence to live video. So as soon as you go live, everyone that's subscribed to you sees it. Whereas if you are just posting a video later, it waits for the post to get traction. So you may have noticed that you don't see every single thing that every single one of your Facebook friends posts, but like when they get engaged or they have a baby, you always see that. There are certain things that based on the level of engagement, they get boosted up really high. So a small number of shares, this is what Brian was talking about, or likes from your congregation to get the ball rolling will keep the engagement way up. And this is an area where we can do something better than companies can, because we naturally have a group of 10, 20, 30, 40 people out there that we can ask to do this. And be that shameless about it. Ask them. Like I just had to flat out say to my congregants, like our videos, rate us, give us a Google review, so that our map pin shows up more prominently. Share our videos, and they did, and it's helped our engagement a lot. But be that direct about it, because it's not always that intuitive, and you're missing out on a lot of reach and power, maybe even to reach new people during this time, rather than just worrying about trying to hold on to the people that we don't get to see in person.
So what are some other pieces of equipment that might be helpful? We had talked about Wi-Fi extenders or something.
Yeah. So if you're having a problem getting Wi-Fi through your building, those new routers will broadcast on 2 frequencies, 5 gigahertz and 2.4. 5 gigahertz is faster, but it can't penetrate solid objects as well. So if you're in an older building, which most churches are, those walls are really solid. They didn't do like the studs and drywall like they do today. So you'll want to tune into the 2.4, and you'll probably want to buy range extenders. You can buy range extenders for, I think really less than $50 and set them up. They're completely painless and intuitive to set up. It should take, anyone that figured out how to get to this meeting should be able to set one up in less than 5 minutes. You just plug them into a wall and go. And you can use those to reach your sanctuary. If you're trying to set up an independent camera like what Bill has, that can be a great option, but the setup for those is a little bit more complicated. I would recommend that you talk to other people that are using them, or watch some videos on YouTube to see what the pros and cons are. Using a phone or something is a good stopgap. And if you can't figure out the live streaming, shooting a video ahead of time, just taking it even through the USB cable into your computer and just uploading it, that's better than nothing. You know, I know this is a learning experience for everybody. So, you know, you're not going to go from, you know, from zero to professional production quality in 1 week. Anything that you can do and figure out, I'm sure your congregants are really going to appreciate. Yeah.
And I think that's, you know, one of the things we were trying to emphasize is most of us are starting at zero. And so we want to give you the, you know, the experience of trying to maybe pre-record and upload or to live stream, because that's going to be where most of our congregations are. Someone has asked, is it advisable to live stream, say on Facebook, and use Zoom simultaneously? I have no answer for that. I just don't know. Using Zoom for worship is actually a relatively new thing. So I think, you know, there's some, so if someone wants to experiment with that, I think I saw Robin said they were going to be trying that. Let's have a conversation next week to see how some of these went. So I don't have an answer. So, but a lot of this is about experimenting. We're going to be trying something new.
Yeah.
David asked a question that Ross talked about in our meeting the other night.
Okay.
Can you do two simultaneously? And you have something that you use.
Yeah. So how's this for a kludge? Yeah, you can do Facebook and YouTube simultaneously. Unfortunately, because they're competitors, they won't let you do it simultaneously through one device. They sell phone mounts that will mount two phones. I just mount two phones side by side, one horizontal, one vertical. I put a picture of the rig up on the Presbytery of Newton Facebook page. It's like the mount to do it was like $30. And if you don't need the lighting because your chancel was lighted correctly when it was built, which ours wasn't, it's cheaper than that. You know, you can get it for $12 or something. But yeah. And I would encourage people too. I talked about the video quality because we actually even do three recordings. So we're simultaneously doing Facebook and YouTube on these two devices and recording on a camcorder in the back, because ultimately you end up with a better perspective and better quality content from the regular camcorder. So we do the live stream first to engage people and to get the high level of views. Later in post-production, we're able to add, you know, a basic title card and some transitions and things, and then put a finished product up on YouTube too. So there is value if you have a camera kicking around that's not able to do some of this, you know, live streaming stuff. There is still value to recording a traditional service and uploading it. And I would, you know, encourage you to look into that too, because there are times when it is useful to edit.
Well, let me go to Ellie now, because one major part of it is how do we do offering? And a lot of our churches don't do online offering, online giving. And Ellie's gonna share some ideas from the foundation.
Thanks. And starting out, I would encourage you to think about offering in time, talent, and resource, and encourage folks to figure out how they can engage all three of those at a personally meaningful level. In particular, in this time, they might be out of balance, but if they're still using all three of those, it plays into even their spiritual experience. So time, talent, and resource. And time and talent may be as easy as thinking about who in your community needs a phone call. Do you have folks living alone? Do you have single parents who really could use some support, or just parents of young children? But reaching out within both your faith community and the broader community to be present. That's a great way to offer time and talent. So asking folks during your online worship to take a moment to really reflect and think about how they can dedicate that. But then in terms of their resource, making it easy for them to give. At the Presbyterian Foundation, we have a great program with a platform through Vanco Payment Solutions. It's cheaper to go through us than through Vanco directly. And we handle administration in that we send out the gift receipts and the year-end summaries. So it's really easy to administer. And it's easy to sign up for. There's no startup or recurring fee. There's simply a 2% transaction charge on gifts. So whether someone gives via their credit card, Amex, Discover, MasterCard, Visa, or out of their checking or savings account, it's a flat 2% fee. So often Amex and Discover are more expensive, but through our program, it's just 2%. And folks can elect to offset that. Now, I would encourage you never to ask people to offset the fee, because it communicates scarcity, and you don't want to communicate scarcity. Trust that they can read. So when they read that, they can discern for themselves, do they want to offset that or not? So leave it up to them. A couple good things to know: the online giving through Vanco and also our own standards at the foundation are PCI level 1 compliance, which is the gold standard for online banking. So both Vanco and the foundation really value cybersecurity and are on top of that. So that can reduce some fears of elders. You know, historically speaking, if we weren't in this pandemic, I'd be saying you want to think about online giving for your casual users, those who might want to do recurring gifts, those who don't carry cash or check in the offering plate. What we know is the average gift is $63, which beats the $5 someone has in their pocket. But today, online giving is even more critical, because what we know through the National Study of Congregations and their economic practices that was put out last September by the Lake Institute, a huge study that they did, is that 78% of gifts come through the worship service. And so with us needing to move our worship services from in-person to online, that could become, it could be very difficult for many of our churches who, you know, run on a shoestring. And so now more than ever, we believe it's critical to have online giving available. Now, remind your folks, they can, if they're already using online bill pay through their bank, they can make a gift through online bill pay just by setting the church up as a payee, and it doesn't cost anything. But also, in addition, I would have a service like our online giving program, because it's very easy for users, and it gives them the option of using credit cards if they want to do it that way. To set it up is very simple. It's a 2-page application plus a copy of a voided check. And we at the foundation are making this our highest priority right now. We're working with Vanco. Normally it takes 5 to 7 days upon the receipt of an application in our office, but Vanco is working with us that we had 25 applications on Monday, and we were able to roll them out Tuesday. Which is amazing. So we realize this is a top priority for our congregations. We have a full court press on at the foundation, processing the applications, making it possible for you to go live with online giving this week. The fastest way to submit your application is by emailing it to onlineservices@presbyterianfoundation.org. And Jean has the application, the program guide. I have a webinar I did with Pittsburgh Presbytery. It was the second of 2 webinars on e-giving. The first one is just why e-giving in general. I'm not sending that out to you right now. I'm sending out the number 2 one, which is focus on the e-giving through the foundation. So what does it look like? There's a demo in that webinar, but if it is useful to have me do a Zoom meeting with your session, to answer any questions, to alleviate fears, I'm happy to do that. So give me a call. My number is on the Presbyterianfoundation.org website. Jean also has it. And you could email me, and I'm happy to set that up. I'm grounded. I'm not traveling. I do have kids in the background, but I'm happy to do a Zoom meeting to alleviate concerns around e-giving. We want it to be easy for people to support the ministries they love. And the best way to continue encouraging generosity is to figure out how to be present with worship in one shape or another, to connect to your people, offering, just taking out of the Book of Common Worship, the daily prayer, by getting your deacons, or if you don't have deacons, getting your elders to help you reach out to members in the congregation by making phone calls, staying active, engaging in your ministry, figuring out how to be present in this crisis is the best way to do stewardship in a pandemic. There also is a nice little article on our website, and if you want to friend me at Rev Ellie Johns Kelly, you don't want to forget my name, just think Ellie Kelly. I hyphenated for a reason. But my Rev Ellie Johns Kelly Facebook page is the one I use for work. And I have the article from Robert Hay posted that's a really good article on how to do stewardship in the midst of a pandemic.
I think I shared
Other questions you have?
I think I shared that article on onto our Facebook page. So
great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Other questions you have? Things you wonder?
I see some on the chat, but it looks like everybody's at. Is there an app, or do you have to go through the website to give? There is an app, right?
Oh, thank you. There's a great app. It's called Give Plus. If you pull out your smartphone right now, whether you have an iPhone and use the App Store or Google Play, I want you to go to your App Store and search Give Plus, GIVEPLUS, and it's Give Plus Church, or it looks like it says Give Plus written out with a plus, but it's really a cross because we're Give Plus Church. Vanco's, can you kind of see it there?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Sorry, the light's not good. So Vanco, if you go to your App Store, you'll see it only gets a rating of 3 stars. People say to me, oh, I don't download anything with less than 4 stars. The app's still handy. Vanco is working on a new app that's hopefully will be out in the next quarter. But what's really cool is you can go in and you can find churches near me, or you can put a zip code, or I can just put in Newton, and I will see all these churches with the name Newton in them, right? But I see, and the Presbytery, you folks are using it, or no, are you not?
We were with Vanco before you were. So we're with Vanco, but long before you were.
So you're paying higher fees, and you don't have,
probably.
You're not, you'd have to pay extra for their app, so you guys aren't on here.
Right.
I do see a second church in Newton, Massachusetts. But the great benefit is it doesn't cost extra to have the app. When you're signed up with us, you have this app. Also, if your church has events, say you have a church dinner, you have a book study and people need to pay for books, we can also do fee for service. It's the same 2% transaction charge, but we send a different receipt. We send a fee for service receipt versus the gift receipt, so it wouldn't show up in the year-end summary for IRS purposes. A couple things to know: you'll be asked to name 2 administrators. Those folks will see the giving in real time. They'll get an email each time a gift is made. If they don't want to get each email, they just email our online services team. We have 3 dedicated staff in our home office: Lucy, Kim, and Jenna. And so you always know you're talking to them. We have a toll-free dedicated line for the online services team, so you don't get stuck in the foundation phone tree. It goes directly to one of them. If they're not able to answer, you leave a message. They'll be back with you within 24 hours, but they're really, I had Lucy responding at 7 p.m. the other night, just because they're trying to stay on top with this crisis. And your administrators can see gifts coming in real time. If you do nothing and your gifts come in, the last business day of the month, there'll be a swipe, and within 2 business days, anything that's been received will be in your church checking account. If it's sat there through the month, it sits in a money market account. We do not retain that interest. We forward that on to the church. So not only would you see fees taken out, but you would see interest as well. And you're able to see that when you log in with your credentials and as an administrator. If you are a church that operates offering plate to offering plate, and maybe not usually, but you really are going to be in this pandemic, your administrators can log on and put a request in up to once a week to move funds in increments of $100 or more. With our program, you can have more than one fund. You can have a general contributions. You can have a special offerings fund. I highly recommend that, particularly with One Great Hour of Sharing coming up, right? And we know disaster assistance will probably be called upon in this crisis, right? So I'd recommend having at least 2 funds, and actually I'd recommend not having many more. If you do have more funds, keep them limited, because you don't want donor fatigue. You don't want donors to get on and go, what should I give to? Keep it to general funds or general contributions, and maybe one or special offering, and maybe if you have a book fund or whatnot, you can do that. Also, in terms of fee for service or church dinners or other donations, if you want Swipe, there is hardware you can order through us through Vanco for $45 that plugs into any smartphone or tablet, and then you download the special Vanco app for the Swipe, and you can swipe credit cards. But you're not going to be using that anytime in the near future, so I just sign up for the regular. And again, with Swipe, it's the same 2% transaction fee, but wonderful program, the least expensive program out there. And then what our administrators often do, you can upload the information to any church management software. However, I would caution you, we at the foundation are receiving and receipting these gifts on your behalf. What most churches do is they just show the sums as they come over into the bank account as an income line, income from the foundation. They don't show the individual donors and the fees and whatnot. They can run those numbers if they need them, but just for purposes of clear and easy accounting, it's just income from the foundation. And why they do that is, though they could upload the information to church management software on each individual donor, we do not send this information to the IRS, neither do you, but we'd hate for your donors to get 2 receipts for the same gift. And they, again, get the original receipt from us, but they can misplace it. It's no big deal. We'll send a year-end summary via email that comes around January 24th each year.
Thank you.
Lots of information. Sorry.
Yes, it is. I got to clarify it. We're not with Vanco. We now have ACS.
Okay.
That's where we are. Yeah, and we have an app for that too.
Good.
Someone did ask if you upload your worship service, do you ask for the offering, kind of like what you would do with a public television? You know, it's now time to, you know, has anybody had any experience with that? I know some of you are still new to this, but how did you ask for the offering, or did you at this last week, or when you do your recording?
Never turned down prayer or money.
Never turned down prayer and money. Thanks.
Yeah, we just did the offering the way we would generally do it. And I've often just told people, just honest. I mean, like this week, I'll probably, during the offering, I did in the recording, that I did today encouraged people that, you know, in any way, any format, and I really would like to convince them to do the foundation as opposed to what they're doing right now with the church. But is that, you know, I just try to be really transparent and honest. My church gets somewhere between $3,000 a week in offering. And if the best minds are telling us 8 weeks of no services, then they can add that together on top of it being one of the top giving days of our year. So I just think that I have to be somewhat brutally honest with them to know, hey, this is what we're facing, maybe not getting if you don't give in an alternative way.
Thanks. I'm going to ask now. Okay, yeah, Ellie.
And I'd also suggest that the offering, whether we're doing worship online or in our regular setting, the best way to encourage investment in the ministry we're doing is to tell stories of how folks' gifts make a difference, and to help them understand that all of these gifts taken collectively enable us to do our work, but tell some stories of what that work is, what it means, what it looks like, how you're still able to be present offering worship because you have a pastor, because you have music leadership, others who are able to be present, because you're able to support your elders and deacons as they do Christian education. Talk about the mission work, the ways you're responding out in the world. Share some of those stories. You're not going to share every story on one day, but you know, every Sunday, share a little different story, a snippet, celebrate the ministry you're doing. And that can be very much part of the call for the offering during the service.
Thank you. Now, if I didn't get your question on the chat or it wasn't answered, do you have questions? I'm asking you to ask your question briefly, to unmute and ask your question, and we'll see if we can answer it. So yeah, go ahead, Ross, before anybody.
Sorry,
That's right.
I got a question from somebody privately. So someone was asking, how do you live stream on YouTube if you have fewer than 1,000 subscribers? And yeah, I kind of forgot about that. You can't. So if you have a normal church channel, you're not going to be able to upload the videos through live stream. So it is just going to be a secondary uploading platform, which, you know, could take some of the stress out of direct uploading to it. You know, I would recommend, and I've always thought it would be a good idea for, you know, churches and presbyteries to try to band members together to bulk up the sub list. You know, I did that with churches' Facebook pages around the country about 2 years ago. But you know, it's going to be challenging to do that. You know, for most size churches, and they put that. Unfortunately, they did put that in place after the Christchurch shooting to prevent new channels from streaming undesirable content that quickly got very high visibility. But it ended up hurting a lot of smaller channels too. And so that's about the long and short of that one.
So the suggestion would be go Facebook first, then work.
Yeah, you're basically for 95% of churches, if you're only drawing on your own membership body for viewers, you're gonna just be streaming on Facebook Live. If you'd need to have a wider audience to be able to live stream onto YouTube, but you can always download the video from Facebook and upload it, you know, if you don't care about the aspect ratio, or you can just shoot a second landscape video and put it on YouTube anyway. YouTube is a better long-term storage solution. I think their embedding software is very seamless for your website and so on. Yeah.
Okay, are there questions? Just unmute, ask your question, and then mute again, please. Tough crowd here. No more questions?
This is Carrie Morgan from Succasunna. So
Thanks.
I'll ask one. So this past Sunday, I did Facebook Live from home. And I am wondering if I should maybe mix it up once in a while. I did email my worship committee to say, you know, would you prefer if I'm doing this from the church? I know my internet is better at home than it is at the church. So I'm hearing that that's important to know that your wireless is strong. But I also feel if this is long term, people are going to yearn to see the sanctuary. And I think it was Jeff Hatch mentioned in our conversation yesterday, just the familiarity of seeing that. So has anybody else made decisions on where they are doing Facebook Live? Are most people in their churches, or are people doing it from home as well?
Go ahead, Courtney.
Yeah, so this past Sunday, our pastor Rich, he actually recorded. He actually made, so we have screens in our sanctuary that he incorporates PowerPoint with on a weekly basis. So he used the PowerPoint presentation he already had for his sermon and recorded his voice over it, and we uploaded that as a video, and he did that from his home. This Sunday, we're gonna try doing it from the church. It'll just be him, our music director, and myself there videoing. So we'll see how that goes, if there's any, you know, better engagement, but yeah, that's what we're doing.
Not to monopolize the conversation too much, but it is a sad fact of life that most churches end up zoned as commercial in terms of their internet hookup, so they can only get business internet connections, not residential, and they will charge you a lot more for a lot less. So the internet that I have at home is 6 times faster than at the manse is 6 times faster than the church's internet, and it's the same price. So you know, that's just the way it is, unfortunately. So that, you know, that is going to be a challenge for a lot of people.
Other questions?
Oh, go ahead.
Who has a question?
Oh, this is Kathleen from Presbyterian Church of Madison.
Yes, Kathleen.
Those are you who are, and thank you for sharing all this information. It's really great. For those of you who are doing recording of worship and posting it or doing live streaming, are you doing the same traditional worship service that you've always done, keeping it at the same length, or do you shorten it in some way? Do you find that, and if you have made a change, have you found a difference with people joining? In other words, our service is typically an hour, and for some people that might be a long time to sit in front of a computer. I don't know, but what are your thoughts on that? Thank you.
Brian, we shortened it. I mean, we made sure that it was shortened. I sat down and we sat with the dry erase board, me and the choir director, and I would have done this alone as well. And we went through and took out all the things that we knew were going. We went through the bulletin point by point and went through every single thing that we thought would not translate to a service on a camera. It's the same essential service. It's the Reformed service, but like we picked hymns that we knew everybody at least knew the first verse, and then we sang that. So we're not singing the whole hymn. We're singing because nobody has a hymnal. And if nobody has the thing, they can at least sing the first verse. We cut out one hymn to make it a little less wieldy, because we don't have, I think it's harder too if you don't have a congregation to do a service that's too long on there as well. and we cut out, some of the stuff we kept. So like the offering wasn't a full offering. We just said, here are the platforms and if you're going to send it physically, send it to the address, but here's our platforms. And then we combined a couple of the prayers that were responses. I think it's just good to go through it. And somebody wrote this on the notes, is I do think you might want to, if you've never done it, kind of go through the whole service, because I have a worship leader that I'm not going to have for that. So, I went through all of the things, and then I was able to say, okay, well, I usually do this, but it makes more sense if you would do it, Lorinda, who's our choir director. And so we kind of divvied it up that way, and it made it flow a little easier.
Okay, thank you. We also do prayers for the people. Now, we can always ask people to, submit their prayers, through the church email or to session members, but has anyone tried with doing some interactive prayers for the people during the service? That can get kind of tough with, people talking on top of one another, but people do enjoy it.
In some places you can, like if you're doing Zoom or something similar, like what we're doing here, where you have limited presenters and everybody else is sort of, turns off their microphone and their camera, that kind of thing. You can use a chat room or something like that to be a little more interactive. You can try that kind of thing. Ellie, then Ross.
I was going to say, Carrie Olson serves the East Falls Church of Schuylkill in Philadelphia, and she did Zoom and used the chat box. And what she did is she was able to incorporate the prayers that showed up there. They also published it to Facebook, I believe. So she was able to collect those prayers, but then she was able to send out to the members of the church an email saying, here were the prayer concerns, so that you can continue to remember these in your own personal prayers, or if you weren't able to be with us. So it's a great way to connect their people in, both who were present for that online service and those who were not. And she found that she didn't have good microphones, so they didn't do good music, or they didn't do any music. But what she did is send out some YouTube hymns that people could pull up and listen to, and then sort of sing along with during the week thereafter to keep them connected. So just one idea.
Ross?
Great, thank you.
So if you are using Zoom for worship and you want it to be more interactive, my wife actually uses Zoom, the full version of Zoom, to teach AP Computer Science to students all over the world. That's what she does for work. And you can set it so that, like, her big tips are, one, you can set it up so that when people join, they're muted by default to do that. And you can also set it up so it the main video is a video of you, the one that started the meeting, so that no matter who is talking, you don't constantly have the mic flipping back and forth, which is helpful in this format when we're trying to have a discussion. But if you're leading worship and you're the leader, every time somebody's cat jumps by, you don't want the camera switching to them. So you can do that. You could even break them out. She was saying use the breakout groups to put them into little prayer subgroups and have them pray for each other for 2 or 3 minutes and then come back. Something like that could be a great idea.
And most people have Zoom Pro, which does not have that breakout group. That's the next level up, but it is possible. It's not that much more expensive. It's an additional cost though, but that is a great idea though, to have those breakout groups. Yeah, Brian.
I would say there are two things, and Ross said something about this with the tripod. I've done both. So like if you're using Facebook Live and it's facing you, and you're looking at yourself, because the camera is showing you that, it will show you the comments coming up, and sometimes don't that could be that could be very distracting if you're not used to it.
Yeah.
So like when you're saying this about the live questioning, I was at a morning prayers at an Episcopal church in Albuquerque where they live streamed it. And some of this was just after a couple weeks, it just got to be a pattern where people would send the prayers, but they had a third party that was, so if you're doing it so somebody's there actually shooting it, they can give you the because it'll be facing them, not you. It's always a little more difficult. I've done it where I've had to do live answer questions or talk to people or try to get prayers. And it's a little more difficult when it's facing you because you're trying to catch it and you're trying to do that at the same time.
Other questions?
Great, thanks for the feedback.
Other questions? Which of the Zoom programs include being able to phone? They all, you can, everything above the free, you can call. I think if you have the free one, I don't know if you can call in. That's only 40 minutes. So any of them, you can, there's a phone component to it.
If you're paying $15 a month, you have the phone component.
Yep. Yeah. So any of them have that. Any other questions? Well, thank you then.
Jean, I have a question. Sorry,
Yeah.
This is Amy.
Yes, Amy.
So this is going to sound really basic, but I have never had to take a URL from a live stream and embed it in an email. Like, is it pretty easy? Does it kind of self-explanatory? Like if I did Facebook Live after it happened, I'd be able to kind of like cut and paste and send it off to anybody in my congregation who, has email, but not anything else.
Anybody want to answer that?
Yeah. Are you using a Mac or a PC?
PC.
Yeah. So you'll just right click on the video, or on the three expanding, the three dots at the edge of it, and it should give you a URL link, and you just copy it out of there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I did a little
straightforward.
bit of research. So we're going to try Zoom, but I have Zoom Pro, and you can actually open it up to streaming. So I should be able to link. They say on the line I haven't tried it yet, but they say that I can actually do a Zoom to Facebook stream, which I think is going to be easier to take and embedded for an email later.
Great.
I just wanted to add one more thing. On
Sure,
Facebook, on Facebook Live, the one thing that I didn't know that I figured out, and I'm sure you guys know this, but I had people watching live who don't have Facebook. They just have to Google your Facebook. Yeah, they just Google your Facebook page, and then or you can send them the URL as you start, which for me was kind of a lot because I was doing everything. But if you send out that URL the minute you start on an email or something, they can watch live. They're not able to participate, which of course they are upset about, and I don't have the ability to fix that right now because we cannot handle Zoom. But anyway, just wanted to mention that.
Thanks. Just a couple of things. First, if you're all going to have to practice something or try something new this weekend, this Sunday, we do have a Newton pastors group, but we also now have on Facebook. We also have a Newton, I think I called it COVID-19 page. You can go on that page, just request everybody's welcome to that page, and share your stories on there of how it went, so other people can see that, so we can learn from each other. I hope to do some more presentations like this. We're looking to do one next week around church finances. However, if someone has a more, says, no, I need something on this, we will adapt very quickly to have another presentation can't tell you what day yet. Just keep watching our Facebook and our web page, and we'll try to be able to resource you as fast as we can on issues that are coming, because we don't know what the issues are. They're just coming at us really quickly. So we're trying to respond as fast as we can. So you can email me, you can put it on Facebook, on our one of our Facebook groups, talk to each other. Contact Ellie. She just says you can email her if you got questions. We're just going to try to help you navigate this unknown world at this time. So anything you need to ask us, please do. Any final comments from our group? Great. Well, thank you, everybody. We're recording this. I will try to get this uploaded to our YouTube channel probably tomorrow, and then there will be a link on our regular Facebook, on our Facebook page for you to refer to it. Now, some of you people I don't know. I'm seeing all kinds of names from all over the place. Just quickly, if you're not from Newton Presbytery, what presbytery are you from, or where are you from? Just put it in the chat room as we finish up. I'm just curious. So if there's anything, let us know, and we will like I said, try to respond as fast as we can to your concerns or issues, and resource you so you can do the ministry. I just want to thank all of you for what you're doing. This is going out into the deep end really fast. I think we've all been thrown into the deep end, and we're all trying to swim together into where we're going to go. So thank you again for being on, and I'm going to ask Bill if you could kind of close us with prayer.
Sure, let's pray. Holy One, as we journey further into the season of Lent, a season often associated with wilderness and deprivation, we pray that you would be with us as leaders of these congregations. Help us continue to support, to inspire, and to shepherd the people in our churches and our communities, giving them strength, hope, and support as they need it. We ask this in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, presenters, and thank you, everybody. I'm sure we'll be talking soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.